good morning, good afternoon, and in some cases, good evening, because people are watching us from all over the globe. I'm so glad that you could all be here with us today, and I'm excited to talk with you. My name is Wendy Stingle, and I am known as Food Goddess. My practice is plant forward eating and positive living. I'm an integrative nutrition and health coach, wellness coach. Um, and the first thing I want to do is I want to really tell you that I'm proud of each and every one of you who are tuning into this, whether you're live or you're watching it recorded, because you're here because you care about your health. And that is so important, especially in this day and age. There's so much information at our fingertips. There is so much stress in our world that we really have to take control of our own health and make decisions that really preserve our vitality for our lifetime. A few of the things that I do, just so you have a sense of who I am and my background, I work as a nutrition coach. And that means that I do some individualized health coaching. I do some customized group coaching where I work with groups. I do a 10-day lifestyle reset, do a whole lot of nutritional education in formats such as this. And then we also I have a collaborative group coaching where I work with 3 peers and we do some group coaching together, which is really fun. A little bit about my background. I have a certification in integrative nutrition. It's from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition out of New York. And I, again, practice as an integrative nutrition and wellness coach. I have a bachelor's degree from the Communication Sciences and Disorders from the University of Texas at Austin, and then a master's degree in Communication Sciences and Disorders from Our Lady of the Lake University in San Antonio. I work also, in addition to being a health coach, I work in pediatrics as a speech language pathologist with a specialty in feeding and swallowing disorders. So there's quite a bit of overlap between the two worlds of nutrition coaching and the work that I do as a speech pathologist. This is my family. I have 2 amazing, beautiful daughters. One who some of you know, Madeline. You guys know her as Maddie. She lives in Chicago. And then it's Natalie, who is 19, who is home at the moment and getting ready to move to be roommates with Madeline in Chicago. So we're super excited about that. And then my life partner, Tony Fama, who is living in San Antonio with me. And they are my joys in my life. So moving forward, what can we do to be healthier? That's our goal. If you're here today, it's because you either are looking to increase your stamina in your workouts, increase your nutrition, and you're looking to better your health in some way. Some of you might be looking to lose weight. Some of you might be looking to gain weight. All of those things kind of fall under the same umbrella. And there are a few things we can do. We exercise, we get plenty of sleep, we drink a lot of water, manage our stress. We really think about the environmental changes and making environmental changes to increase our health. And we eat real food. So for the purpose of today, we're going to focus mostly on food, primarily fruits and vegetables, because we hear so much about a variety of things in nutrition that really the biggest power of to source our health is in fruits and vegetables. 75% of diseases are preventable with good nutrition. The problem is we say good nutrition and people struggle to know what that really means because we Google it and it means a million different things. So we'll talk about what that really looks like. So first of all, nutrition is something that we really have to focus on to fuel our body, whether we're just functioning in our world, we're working, we're going through the normal routine, or we're doing really intense workouts. some of us are traveling or have a history of traveling in musicals, which I don't have to tell anyone here how strenuous that is on the body. If we don't fuel our bodies with good nutrition, then eventually something will break. We hear about macronutrients and micronutrients. Macronutrients, if we think about this in terms of a car, macronutrients, which are the proteins, are the big groups: proteins, carbs, and fats. Think about those in terms of gas, or my car is not gas powered, it's electrical powered, so electricity in that case. And then your micronutrients, which are your phytonutrients, they're the smaller vitamins and minerals that come from plants. Those are the oil in the engine. We know that we can drive a car as long as we're putting gas or electricity into it. It's charged or it's filled with gas, and it will go for a long time. But over time, if we don't change the oil, if we are not keeping up with keeping it plenty of oil in it, making it run smoothly, then eventually that will break, right? The engine will break down, and our bodies work very similarly to that. So what's wrong with our food, right? Plenty is wrong with our food. We are representing in this group, I know that we're representing at least 3 different countries here. And so I think that the United States is probably the ringleaders in good healthcare and really poor nutrition. What we say often is good sick care, right? And really poor nutrition. But some of this really spans across the globe. There are definitely countries doing a much better job than the United States, but this really does span across the globe, especially as the United States moves companies into other countries. And so a few things we see is the food quality decreasing over time. We go back into the 60s and 70s, prior to the convenience food movement, health was much better, generally speaking. So today we're so driven by convenience food. What's easy, what's at our fingertips. We live a very fast life. And with that come things like preservatives, flavor enhancers, emulsifiers, synthetic vitamins, genetic modifications, less nutrients in general, pesticides, trans fats, artificial colors, growth hormones, and other unnamed factors in our food quality decreasing. So this here, wanted to talk to kind of just show you, so you get a sense of my mindset when I'm looking around. This is a gym at a very high-end hotel in New York City. The mirror makes it look like it's 2 different photos. It's not. This is 2 treadmills right next to a what do you call these things? A machine for junk food. I mean, that's all that's in there. M&Ms, you can see that Powerade, and which is, I don't know how many of you are aware of Powerade and Gatorade having as much sugar as soda. You're almost better off drinking a Coke than you are drinking Gatorade to replenish. And we can talk about what are some better alternatives to that. You can see a Cliff Bar, which somebody might purchase thinking, oh, this isn't so bad. But if you look at the contents of a Cliff Bar, the added sugars in that are almost equivalent to a quarter of a pint of Ben & Jerry's. This is taken at a Target here in Texas during back to school shopping. So we see what we are pushing for our children. We wonder why they have things like ADHD, difficulty focusing, difficulty sitting still. Their immune systems tank. In the fall, we think it's, because they're building their immune systems, they're exposed to so much. But really, the reason children get sick so much when they go to school is because they're not equipped to fight infection. And this is why. This is the one that really hits me deeply. And Chelsea, this might resonate with you. This is a photo taken of the snacks available to an infusion room in a cancer treatment center. What we're doing here is really just feeding the return of the cancer. None of this serves anybody. Okay, so moving forward, today's produce, part of the problem with today's produce, even if we're buying our produce from the organic section at a Whole Foods, for example, or Wegmans, as some of you might be familiar with in the Northeast. We go to the grocery store and we buy from the organic section, but we don't really think about the journey that food has taken. Food gets the most nutrients when it's picked vine ripened. So if it's picked ripe off the vine or off the plant, that's when it has its most nutritional benefit. What happens is that food goes from a farm. It has to go from a farm onto a truck. That truck takes it to a distribution center. That distribution center then takes it maybe to a grocery store. It sits on the shelf at a grocery store. And then from the grocery store, we purchase it, we take it home, and we put it in our refrigerator where it may sit for 5 to 7 days before we eat it. And so in order for the food to make it through that process, it has to be picked green. It won't make it to our refrigerator if we pick it vine ripened. So we're starting out with a nutrient depleted food right off the bat. In addition to that, we have an issue with our soil because our soil is over-farmed, overproduced, and most of what is grown in our soil is then used for livestock. So the actual good nutrient-rich soil where we grow our food is very minimal. And so even as the food grows, even with it when it is vine ripened, the soil is depleted and it's just not absorbing the kinds of nutrients that we really need. Here, some varieties have lost 5% to a whopping 40% of their nutrient contents. And additionally, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in a bit, but we need 7 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. It used to be less. It used to be 5 to 7. Now it's 7 to 13 because that nutritional quality of food has decreased so significantly. So let's talk about oxidative stress. So what is oxidative stress? Oxidative stress is the imbalance between free radicals, which are oxygen-containing molecules that cause damage or oxidation, and it's the imbalance between those free radicals and antioxidants. So I'm just going to go through this. Whoops. In simpler terms, we breathe in oxygen. We need oxygen to survive, right? We all know that. But when we breathe in too much, then it starts to have a negative effect. It starts to produce something called free radicals in the system. And free radicals attach to things like mitochondria, organs. They attach directly to muscle tissue, tendon tissue, and they create damage. They will actually damage DNA fibers. They damage muscle tissue. They cause an overactive immune response, which then leads to autoimmune disease. They damage tendons. They cause tendon injuries and then decrease immune response. Along with that, what that means is when the body is stressed to that degree, then we're at risk of things like upper respiratory infections. And oxidative stress is known to be responsible for about 50% of upper respiratory infections. The other thing that it does is it decreases muscle power, which is something called contractile dysfunction. And so in that, it means that as you move your muscles, you start to feel like they're not as strong as they used to be. They don't have the same power of contracting the way they need to when you're moving through, whether it's intensive exercise like a boot camp, intensive dance, those sorts of things, or even just running through life, up and down stairs and that sort of thing. We think it's a normal process of aging, when really it's about mismanaged oxidative stress over time. So what causes oxidative stress? A variety of things. Inflammatory foods will do that. Foods that cause inflammation, that are known to be responsible for inflammation within the system, are things like gluten, alcohol, sugar, and that's added refined sugars. I'm not talking about the naturally occurring sugars that are in fruit. Processed foods and animal proteins. Exercise will cause oxidative stress. Exercise is a double-edged sword sometimes, right? We know we need it, but at some point, exercise becomes something that stresses the body. If we don't fuel it right, if we don't repair it right, then it will eventually break. Sleep deprivation, same thing. That's where our bodies heal. That's where our bodies naturally repair the damage from oxidative stress. If we are sleep deprived, it doesn't have the opportunity to do that. Stress in general, so we're talking about mental stress and physical stress, emotional stress, environmental stress. Any stress on the body will ultimately have a physical impact on the body. Personally, I just went through an incident in December where I was under a tremendous amount of stress from some other situations that were not physical related. And my meniscus in my knee tore because of that ongoing stress and not managing that well. So you can see how you start to have physical effects of things that you think are just mental, or you're just feeling, sad, or you're just running at a rapid pace for a prolonged period of time. We have to give the body time to heal. Dieting also causes stress on the body. And then in dieting, I'm talking about things like calorie restriction, really nutrient restriction, really limiting our fuel. And then many isolated vitamins and supplements with the best of intentions. I'm sure any one of us can say at some point we've taken a multivitamin. You hear, oh, take creatine, that's good for your muscles, that's good for muscle repair. All of these things, and we go to the store and we buy something off the shelf without really knowing where it comes from, or really understanding the impact that it can make on the body. When our body sees something, receives something that it sees as not natural, it doesn't know what to do with it. So that causes stress, it eliminates most of it, and it ends up being ultimately a waste of your money. A really great visual of oxidative stress, just to give you a nice way to think about it, is if you cut an apple and you leave it out, oxygen touches the apple and eventually it turns brown, because the apple needs oxygen to grow, but over time too much oxygen starts to form free radicals. It attaches to the surface of the apple and you can see where it starts to turn brown. Does the same thing to our bodies internally and externally. That's exactly where, in part, where wrinkles and gray hair and the signs of aging come from. This is interesting to me. In each human cell, the DNA is hit about 10,000 times a day by mutagenic oxidants. 10,000 times a day. And our DNA is affected. So if we don't fuel it right to repair, then you can see how it starts to break down. To talk a little bit about dieting and over exercising here. So something, I'm going to put this in pretty simple terms. Toxins attach to fat cells. When we diet or over exercise, then what happens is we burn the fat cells, and the toxins don't have anything to attach to. So then they attach to organs. And and then we end up feeling terribly. We start to feel our energy drops. Some people diet and they get sick. Some people doing, you hear often about keto and people getting the keto flu, things like that come about. It's because those toxins are still running through the body, trying to find something to attach to. So then we start to rebound because we don't feel well. We stop moving. We're no longer, if we've been over exercising, we're no longer motivated to exercise. So we stop moving. And then those toxins start to look for something else to attach to. Or they're attached to the organs, but then we start to build more fat cells. And as we build more fat cells, the toxins go, I'm home. So then we store more fat cells because then we have these happy toxins in our body. We have stressed our body, so we've created more toxins. And you see in some of these big challenges like The Biggest Loser, where people come back after a couple of years and they not only have they gained the weight back, but often they've gained more because it will overcompensate. And so what do we do instead? We cleanse. We cleanse the toxins. When we cleanse the toxins, then we can actually shed the fat from there. So the toxins don't end up attaching to organs. There's no rebound effect because there's no toxins left there. We still feel well. Our energy is good. Our body has the nutrients that it needs. And so the toxins are gone, the fat is gone, and we start to build muscle. Okay, so the best defense to antioxidant or to oxidative stress is, I'm sure many of you have heard this word, antioxidants. So that's exactly where it comes from. Antioxidants come from plant foods. We do not get antioxidants from animal-based foods. Just put that out there. I love this graphic because it really shows, it goes back to what we were talking about multivitamins and synthetic vitamins. So when we take a multivitamin, you think about what's listed on the label, right? There's a supplement label. Everything that's listed there is what's put into that multivitamin. If you take an apple, scientists have taken apples under a microscope, and they have tried to name and list all of the phytonutrients, all of the nutrients and minerals that are contained in one apple. They have been able to name 12,000. There are thousands more that exist that have not yet been named, but we know for sure there are at minimum 12,000 vitamins and nutrients. An apple, when you think about that apple, those 12,000 plus nutrients work synergistically to build, to do what the apple is meant to do. So it really goes back to the very old saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. We eat that apple and we consume all of those nutrients with it. They all work together to support each other with the fiber that comes on the skin and the flesh of the apple. When we take a multivitamin, certain of those nutrients are extracted. Think about it as those nutrients being extracted from the apple. You know that our multivitamin labels do not look like this. What's next to the apple here? There's a small list on a bottle. When we extract those and then we replicate them in a lab, number one, they're no longer a natural substance. Okay. Sometimes they might be actually extracted. We might be able to find something that's higher end where those nutrients are extracted, but we lose the synergistic benefit of everything else that goes with that nutrient. So if we're taking the vitamin C out of the apple, we're taking the vitamin C away from all those other nutrients and minerals, and our body no longer knows exactly what to do with it. So, what do we do from there? We eat fruits and veggies, right? We eat lots and lots of color. We eat lots and lots of variety. And we talk about servings. The recommended daily number of fruits and veggies, number of servings of fruits and vegetables per day is 7 to 13 servings. Okay, so if you think about taking your fist, show you here. You take your fist. This is the size of one serving um, of a fruit or vegetable. Okay. So when you think about what you're putting on your plate, you take a serving. Um, it, this doesn't mean you have 7 servings of broccoli in a day. It doesn't mean you eat 3 apples and an avocado and a small salad. I mean, that's better, right? But we're still not getting the variety that we need, and the number of servings. So that's a lot. And the truth is, most of us don't eat that much. Um, for athletes, and I say this because so many here in this group are doing Ellie's amazing tempo performance program. And if you're not, let me know. And you should be, because it's amazing. But it's intense, and we're doing boot camps and constant movement. And many of those in this group are also, um, you know, dancing and doing, or maybe you're an athlete, maybe you're running, maybe you've taken up running. All of these things are very, very physical activities. So when we do activity like that, when we increase that demand on the body, we have to increase the nutritional support. That becomes 16 to 18 servings of fruits and vegetables per day is the recommendation. So it's really important that we think about how we get that food and how we support the process. What a plate should look like is something like this. So if we take, this is 2 servings of fruits, 1 to 2 servings of nuts and seeds, lots of 4 or more servings of veggies, 3 servings of beans or lentils, and then 5 servings of starchy vegetables or grains. I imagine many of you in this group and many of you watching today are under the impression that we should limit our carbs. And I'm going to tell you here that carbs are your friends. We're not talking about refined carbs. We're not talking about refined sugars. So white rice is pretty much out. Breads are, unless they are whole grain, are pretty much out. Muffins that we get from Starbucks, those are out, right? Those are just loaded with refined flour. It's bleached refined flour that's gone through massive processing. That does us no good. But we absolutely have to have grains in our diet. We absolutely have to have whole grains and starches for our digestive system to work properly. So that does come from beans. That does come from quinoa and brown rice and potatoes. There's absolutely nothing wrong with potatoes. And then lots and lots of veggies. Bananas are good. I'm saying this because so many people come to me and I thought bananas were bad. I thought carrots were bad, or white potatoes were the worst thing to eat. It's absolutely not the case if you are supporting your system with the nutrition that you need. All of this works to decrease inflammation in the body, to decrease oxidative stress in the body, and to support repair of DNA, repair of muscle tissue and tendons, and repair your energy stores. Okay. The other piece here is, like I said, you don't want to eat the same things every day. If you think about eating the rainbow and putting a rainbow of color on your plate every time you eat, a rainbow of color in your breakfast, a rainbow of color in your lunch, a rainbow of color on your dinner plate, that's really all you need. All the protein, all the fiber, all the other nutrients that you need to help, all of your macronutrients. If you're eating avocado and sweet potatoes, you're going to get plenty of macronutrients. But what you also get is the micronutrient piece. So you're getting the gas and the oil together. The other thing I recommend is whole food concentrates, because going back to those numbers of servings, 7 to 13 if you're fairly sedentary, 16 to 18 if you're very, very active. It's tough. It can be tough to eat that volume of food. especially in a busy life. So a lot of people reach for a multivitamin, which, like I said, is synergistically inefficient and not bioavailable. Whole food concentrates are essentially dehydrated fruits and vegetables that are then pulverized and put into a capsule form or a powder form. These tend to be much more bioavailable. And by bioavailable, that means that it actually is shown to get into your bloodstream. To be a little graphic with you here, if you think about taking a multivitamin and then you go a couple of hours later and you urinate and your urine is bright yellow, it has a different smell. That is because your body is not absorbing it. It's just flushing it right out for the most part. Generally speaking, we tend to absorb about 20% of a multivitamin and eliminate 80. With a whole food concentrate, something like this that's based from whole food, we tend to absorb 90% and only eliminate about 10 because our body knows what to do with it. And then it has that synergistic ability. The nutrients have that synergistic ability to really support healing. Just as a side note, there's the one that I take, the one that has the most nutrition, most research backing it is something called Juice Plus. I'm more than happy to share more about that with you if you reach out to me privately. Okay, so how do we detox? Let's get back to that piece. Here are a few things. This is what's going to help you. This is one of my smoothies that I make that I absolutely love. And you'll see this isn't a small mason jar. And these are, I love these smoothies. They are really delicious. So, so what we do to detox, it's not just about what we take out, it's also about what we add in. So we want to eliminate gluten. And just a real quick note on gluten. Some people can tolerate gluten just fine. Most of us cannot. Gluten is, for those of you that aren't aware, it's a protein molecule that exists in wheat-based crops. So it's wheat. Spelt is a derivative of wheat, barley, rye, those sorts of things. Gluten is a protein molecule that's in those. We overproduce our wheat in this country to an extreme amount, again, because we're feeding animal crops with it, but it's where most of it goes. So we really overproduce it. When we consume gluten, that protein molecule then it's considered a sticky molecule. So our stomach breaks down food. Our small intestine, the duodenum, which is the 6 inches of intestine that's right off the stomach, that's where we absorb most of our nutrients. Gluten tends to stick to the wall of that part of the intestine. When it sticks there, it blocks other nutrients from being able to be absorbed. And so, the vitamin C from the apple, the selenium, the magnesium, and all of that goes through, then isn't properly absorbed because it's got this sticky stuff that's blocking it. If we're remotely sensitive to it, and I'm not talking about celiac here, and that's a whole other animal, or even allergy, I'm talking about even just remotely sensitive to it. Inflammation happens when when it sticks there. So if you think about kind of brushing up against poison ivy, right? Some people are super allergic, they have a massive response. If you're just sensitive to it, it's at very best going to make you a little bit itchy, and cause inflammation. So that's what gluten does. And it can really wreak havoc in the digestive system. Dairy, again, is highly inflammatory. Added sugar, and here I specifically say added sugar because I'm not talking about the natural sugars that exist in fruit. Our bodies know what to do with that sugar. That is good sugar for us when it's coupled with the natural fibers. And then processed foods. So those are things that we really should, if we're detoxing, we want to look to really eliminate those things from our diet. Things to minimize from our diet: eating after 6 p.m. That is really tough. It's really tough for me in my world. So I do the best that I can. And some days I'm successful in that, and some days I'm not. And so again, I do the best that I can and try to move a little bit after I eat, no matter what. But if you kind of generally just shoot to eat before the sun goes completely down, that's a good goal too. Minimize alcohol. There's a lot of research out there about alcohol and how, sometimes it can be good. It's about balance in life. So you think what the research shows us is that 6 ounces of red wine per week is good for us. Anything more than that starts to build on that oxidative stress cycle. Caffeine, again, there are some health benefits to coffee, but in very, very limited amounts. 8 ounces or less with nothing in it is where we see the benefit. Anything more than that starts to really, again, really put stress on the body. And then animal proteins. So I would normally recommend that those animal proteins be up on the top list under the eliminate section. But I understand we're all on a road. We all have a journey. And if you are someone who's still eating animal proteins, we eat far too much, generally speaking. So the goal there would be to limit that serving size to the size of a deck of cards. That's pretty small. If we go into a restaurant, we're going to get 3 to 4 times that amount easily. We're talking about 3 to 4 ounces of animal protein in one meal per day. So that includes eggs, that includes dairy, which is hopefully eliminated, or any fish, any kind of meat. So we really, really minimize that, and we start to see incredible benefit. So what do we add? We add more water. Half your body weight in ounces is the goal every day. More fruits and veggies. So again, going back to those serving sizes we talked about. Try your best to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Move your body, whether it's intense exercise, whether it's a walk, whether it's a hike. Move your body every day. Get some whole food concentrates so that you support, you kind of bridge that gap between what you should eat, now that you know, and what you do eat. It bridges that gap between the two. Meditation helps us to detox. There's a lot of science that shows that helps us to calm our system, to allow our system time to heal, to promote DNA repair, and to really decrease oxidative stress. Get some time outside and spend some time with friends. These all are a lifestyle modifications that help us to detox. And what I want to say about this is we can do intensive detox for short periods of time where we really focus on these things. What we do if we cultivate this as a lifestyle, then we end up detoxing as we go. If you think about when you're in the kitchen cooking dinner, you can cook and stack everything in the kitchen and you've got this big mess to clean up at the end. Or you can clean as you go. And then it doesn't take any time at all. So you clean as you go, right? This is cleaning as you go. If you incorporate these things into your daily life, then there's no detox that's necessary. Okay. Food for physically active lifestyles, because we know the vast majority of us in this group are physically active. These are really great things. Whole grains, nuts and seeds, green leafy vegetables, can't get enough of those. Lots and lots of berries. Dates are a great energy food. They are sweet. For me, they satisfy my sweet tooth that is, lifelong, and really have replaced any kind of sugar craving. And they're high in potassium, which again helps with energy and it helps with muscle repair. Legumes, cruciferous veggies, all kinds of potatoes. Avocado is one of the best healthy fats we can eat. So these are all really great things to incorporate into your daily diet. Generally speaking, the darker the color, the more nutrient dense. So if you're looking at grapes and you see green grapes, red grapes, and purple grapes, the purple grapes are going to be the most nutrient dense of the three. Green grapes still have incredible benefit, but if you're making a choice between those, the purple ones are the most nutrient dense. Sweet potatoes, there's Japanese sweet potatoes that have purple skin and white flesh. There's yams and the jewel sweet potatoes that are bright orange. And then there are purple sweet potatoes with purple flesh. Again, those purple sweet potatoes with the purple flesh are going to be the most nutrient dense. Green leafy vegetables, from iceberg to kale or collard greens. The darker the color, the more nutrient dense, the more you get out of it. Okay, questions? Anybody here in our group have questions today?
So my question would be, I am in charge of cooking for my household, and my brother has autism. He's kind of picky in terms of eating, but I do notice he gets like very bloated, and I can see that kind of inflammation that you've been talking about when he has gluten and, you know, things like that. So I'm trying to make that shift over for him, but he's kind of a picky eater in the sense of like trying to put lettuce on a sandwich for him or something, he pulls it right off. So kind of stuff like that. So I guess how would you recommend incorporating more vegetables with a good variety for someone who's a little bit picky?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. And how old is your brother, by the way?
He's 20.
He's 20. Okay. So and the reason I ask is because we talk about children or children or people who are on the beige diet, who consume foods that have no color, right? That's their go-to, and it really is very common in individuals with autism. So what we know is that when they get the nutrients in, when they consume the nutrients, they want more of them. That's backed in research. So, and we do see commonly that there is a link to gluten and how the body of someone with autism processes that. And they have a much more difficult time. So good for you for being aware of that and observant of that, because that would be a good thing to eliminate from his diet. So the fruits and veggies, and the other complication here possibly is that he may not like his foods to touch different colors. Like, so if you've got lettuce in a sandwich, just the fact that the lettuce is touching the bread and the other things in the sandwich, that may be troublesome for him. So good, you keep putting it in there, and it decreases his sensitivity to that, increases his tolerance. He can take it out. But then you do things like you add the whole food concentrates, and maybe that's a conversation you and I have separately, and about how to really get those in. But you can also do things like, if he'll drink a smoothie, will he drink a smoothie? Something like that.
Yeah, he loves smoothies.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the best way to get. I mean, that's just amazing because you can hide anything in a smoothie. And a little trick here is that baby greens, so the baby spinach, the small leaves, baby kale, they really break down very well in a blender, as opposed to the big coarse dinosaur kale that you might get. That's not going to break down as well. So you put those baby greens, put handful or 2 handfuls in a smoothie for him. It doesn't matter if it's blended up, he still gets the benefit of all of it. It's different from juicing, right? Because you're putting the whole thing in there, as opposed and consuming the whole thing. When we juice, we take the juice and then we throw away all the fiber. And so many nutrients stick to fiber, and then we lose all of that. So you can put all of that in a smoothie. You can put avocado in his smoothie, lots and lots of dark berries. Those are all really good choices. And the more of that he consumes, the more his body is going to learn to rely on it over time. So good for you for cooking for your family and wanting to make really great choices. That's amazing.
Awesome.
But yeah, please let's maybe connect separately as well.
Sure.
Okay. Any other questions? Maya, I saw you there. I know you're there. If you have a question, I'm happy to answer it.
Hey, no, I don't, but I'm so thankful that you did run your program today. It it means a lot to me because like these are my belief systems. So I do think how you're thinking, and although I haven't been operating on the best, but I when you speak, I understand because those times where like I'm eating better, like I feel better. And then those times where I'm like being more extravagant, eating out, there's that damper in energy and things and belly and shift of energies from, oh yeah, I was just juicing this week, and I was actually just waking up today like, oh, when I go home, I want to cleanse. Like I know I want to go to my fridge, throw everything out, give away some food, go to
Mhm.
Whole Food and get some basic needs and like kind of like get back on top of eating because not only does your body not only do you feel it, but your body starts to behave weirdly. Your skin starts to show that maybe you're lacking in nutrients, maybe you need to do something extra. So, it was just like really like powerful hearing you like talk about nutrients and doing your thing and spreading your knowledge. I love it. Sounding like Dr. Sebi himself. I was like, yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for saying all of that. Actually, you reminded me because you've mentioned a couple of times in our group chat after boot camp how sore you've been, right? Because
Yeah.
Maya
Mhm.
did her first boot camp this past week, and
Yeah.
here's the thing: there's a delayed onset soreness that can happen from oxidative stress that tells us that if we feel sore more than 24 hours after a workout, that there is some underlying damage already happening to our tendons and to our muscle fibers. And that comes from, again, that oxidative stress. So it happens a lot to us. We do really hard workouts and it takes a lot to recover. And so that is a signal that your body's telling you. If you're sore more than 24 hours after a workout, then your body is saying, hey, I need you to pay attention to me. There's something I need here. And so that comes from food. We find that repair through food. So I thank you for sharing that because it's an important thing to address and for your very sweet words. I'm glad you're here, Maya. Mhm.
I really
Um,
appreciate it.
all right. Well, if let's see, if you have questions, here is my contact information down below. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram under Food Goddess Wendy Stingle. You can direct message me through either of those two places, and I will always get back with you. You can email me at wendy@foodgoddess.net, or you can text or call me at 210-378-9868. I know that's kind of tiny. And just so you know, this is my favorite pizza that we make. So that crust is made from almond flour. There's no cheese on that pizza. There's no meat on that pizza, but it is loaded with veggies. It's an almond flour crust that then goes into the oven with tomato paste and sauce and tempeh and all kinds of, as you can see, green vegetables. And it is absolutely delicious. I haven't found a pizza that I like more than mine. So just know that you can make these dietary changes. What I didn't mention is that I have 17 years of experience in the restaurant industry prior to my work prior to my work as a speech pathologist. So I am a foodie. I mean, it is ingrained in my blood. I love food. I love beautiful food. And I love food that tastes good. So a lot of people think that when they're going through this process and eating healthy and making healthier choices, that it's going to be bland, it's going to be expensive, and it's going to take a long time to prep. It doesn't have to do any of those things. Your food should taste good and should excite you. Your food should not break the bank. And you can make just about anything, maybe not that pizza, but just about anything in 30 minutes or less. That is all absolutely doable. One other quick note about Tempo Performance: if you are watching this, if you are engaged in this, and you would like to know more information about that, it is one of the best workout routines I have done. in my 50 years. It's challenging, it's exciting, it's fun, and it is individualized, and Ellie is phenomenal. So I highly recommend you look into adding that to your daily activities. I thank each and every one of you for being here today. And Maya, wonderful to see your face. Tony, I love your face. And Casey, wonderful to meet you and put a face with your name. Thank you so much. And for those of you watching on recording, I appreciate you, and I encourage you to reach out to me with any questions. Have an amazing weekend.
Thank you so much.